My name is Adejumobi Felix, and I'm a graduate of anatomy from the University of Ilorin. So I just graduated last year, and I love anything neuro science and research. So I have with me my colleagues Ajayi, Timilehin, and Isaiah Sunday. I, they are present here. So thank you very much, everyone. And I will dive into the topic straight away. Please, the next slide. Okay, so the topic is ameliorative effect of aluminum of Kolaviron on the corners and minors of adult female rats exposed to aluminum chloride. Now, starting with the introduction, sorry, my slide is not that okay. I just prepared it yesterday. Starting with the introduction, aluminum chloride is one of the most abundant elements on Earth, and it has an oxidation state of +3. Then, we have been able to know through many research that aluminum has anti-mutative effects, inflammatory effects, and mutagenic effects. Now, it can be gotten from the food we eat, the air we breathe in. Okay, so the air we breathe in, the water we take, and topical agents such as cosmetic we put on our body. There are some usefulness of aluminum chloride. It can be used as an adjuvant in vaccine production, and it can also be used as an agent against pathological hyperhidrosis with low side effect profile. So, what prompts us to study or make research on aluminum is about the adverse effect it causes, because around us here in Nigeria, we see people using cooking utensils that have been that have been that have been that have been used for a long while. Get, and through these cooking utensils, aluminum can enter the body and enter the central nervous system. Now, we have three major adverse effects of aluminum chloride. The first one is that aluminum has the ability to to prompt the production of free radicals, and these free radicals can build up, accumulate in the brain, and then causes a sort of uh, neurodegenerative events such as of aging, such as Alzheimer's disease. Now, it has also been reported that aluminum chloride can bind with low phospholipid, uh, low phospholipid such as phosphatidylserine of the brain, so as to prompt the production of reactive oxygen species, thereby leading to damage to the neurons in the brain. Then, we also look at it from another way through its transport. Aluminum has the ability to transport itself swiftly across the blood-brain barrier and then deposit itself in the hippocampus, frontal cortex, and other parts of the brain, thereby causing neuronal cell loss. And when this cell loss happens, especially for the hippocampus where we worked on, it can cause memory impairment, disorientation, and disruption in learning process. So these are the adverse effects of aluminum. Please, the next slide, please. Now, here look at the ameliorative agents that we can use so as to confirm maybe these ameliorative effects, agents can lessen the effect of aluminum chloride on the hippocampus. Then we make use of Garcinia cola. It is commonly referred to as bitter cola in most West African states, countries, especially in Nigeria. The tree is about 40-meter high, and it is used in ethnomedicine because of its ability it is used as therapeutic agent for treating disease due to its antiviral, antibacterial, antifungal, and analgesic properties. Now, the Kolaviron is an extract of the kola nut seed from that tree, and it contains some active compounds such as the Garcinia biflavonoid 1 and 2, the Kolaviron, and others. So these active ingredients can pass or can survive first pass metabolism. And due to many studies, we have been able to understand that this Kolaviron has antioxidative properties and membrane stabilizing property. So we made use of Kolaviron as our ameliorative agent. Please, the next slide. Now, the hippocampus. The hippocampus was the organ we worked on. So it is a temporal brain structure, as we all know, and it belongs to the limbic system. So it contains the uh, dentate gyrus and the conus ammonis. So these conus ammonis, uh, due to the organization of cellular morphology, it is divided into four. That is the CA1, 2, 3, and 4. And it has been reported that the CA1 is mostly susceptible to hypoxia. Now, the hippocampus, it has various uses. The function, sorry. It can be used, it functions as an organ of memory processing. It can also function as regulation of fear and anxiety. It also helps in learning and emotion, and it is critical for memory consolidation. Now, it has an anterior part and a posterior part. Now, the anterior part of the hippocampus is used for decision making, while the posterior aspect is used for visual perception. And we all know the blood supply comes from the posterior cerebral artery and the anterior carotid artery. So the next slide, please. Now, this is the major thing about my presentation today. So, together with my colleagues, we worked on this project 2 years ago. That was 2021 as our final project in school. Now, the methodology, includes the animals purchased. We purchased the animal from a rat breeder in Nigeria. We purchased about 25 rats, and we divided them into 5 groups. So we made the group A was serving as the control group. The group B was given corn oil, which was our transport agent or like the dissolving material for the Kolaviron. The group C was given Kolaviron. The group D was given uh, aluminum chloride, while the last group, which is the group E, was administered with aluminum chloride followed by Kolaviron. Now, during the purchase, we also acclimatize the animal for. We actually plan to acclimatize them for 14 days, but due to unforeseen circumstances, we acclimatized them for about a month, which affected some of our results. So during acclimatization, we weigh the animal with a normal weighing scale, and then after the weighing and the administration period, we made them to pass through some behavioral tests. That is the open feed test and the Morris Mortar race. Now, the open feed test, the basic concept about it is that you want to test for the exploratory and the locomotor activity of the animal, and also to measure the depression level and anxiety level, because it has been reported by many studies that aluminum chloride has the ability to induce depression and anxiety in experimental animals. So those are that is for the open feed test, and we measured we made use of 7 parameters: the numbers of feces, the center square entry, the duration that the animal used in the center square, the numbers of line crossed, the rearing frequency, and the grooming frequency. So sorry for not putting the picture of the open feed test. The open feed actually is a cubic box, like a is the cubic box, and it has a base that has been divided into lines. So the animal will be placed at the center of the open field or anywhere around the base, and we monitor them till they pass through all the parameters we measured. Now, the Maurice measurements is to test for the memory, learning, and processing. And the basic concept about the Maurice water, that's the second behavioral test actually. The basic concept about it is that we made the animal or the group to pass through some training, and then after the training, there's an escape platform at the center of the Maurice water. The Maurice water is a circular basin. So there's an escape platform that we place at the center of the Maurice water, and we expect the animal to locate the escape platform after the initial training within 60 seconds. So any animal that is not able to locate the escape platform within that period is said to have lost the memory processing ability. So those are the behavioral tests we carried out on the animal. And then we sacrifice the animal, then we excise the hippocampus from the brain. We also did some histology and immunohistochemistry analysis. For the histology, we made use of the hematoxylin and eosin for doing the cytoarchitecture of the tissue that we've extracted. Now, we also made use of the cruciferous violet to express or to visualize the missile synapses in the neurons of the hippocampus. And then the immunohistochemistry analysis made use of three markers. We made use of the GFAP, which is the Gilia fibrillary acidic protein, to visualize reactive astrocytes. Sorry. So these reactive astrocytes, they are astrocytes that undergo cellular morphology so as to respond to CNS trauma after trauma or injury. And also made use of TNF alpha, that is tumor necrosis factor, and this one is to serve as to indicate inflammation actually. The third immunohistochemical markers we use is the BAS, which is the barium chloride 2 X association protein. That is to indicate apoptosis in the neurons of the hippocampus. So the next slide, please. Yes. After we've carried out the methodology and other stuff, we got some results. Now I told us we build the body, the animals during the acclimatization. So these are the results we got. It was reported that aluminum chloride from previous studies and those that have carried out the research, that aluminum chloride has the ability to lead to decrease in body weight. And from our own research here, we've gotten is that aluminum chloride group, the aluminum chloride group, which is the group D, experience a sort of loss in body weight compared to the control group. So we are using the control group to compare the aluminum chloride group, and we can see that the control group has more body weight than the aluminum chloride. While the group E, aluminum chloride, and the Kolaviron group, you can see that there's no much difference between them, and that is because the group is still undergoing a sort of recovery state. So they have the similar body weight with the aluminum chloride group, while the Kolaviron group has more body weight than all the group. And that's to tell us that Kolaviron has sort of ameliorative effects. So the next slide, please. So the same thing for the brain weight. With the researches and studies for previous scientists, you can also see that aluminum chloride, the brain weight compared to the control group is lesser. So, and comparing the aluminum chloride group to the Kolaviron group, you can see that they have almost similar weight. That's to tell us that this group is still undergoing a kind of recovery stage. So aluminum chloride has the ability to cause a decrease in brain weight, as we've seen here, compared to a normal uh, experimental animal that is not giving any toxic agents. So the next slide. Now, for the behaviorals, I said we use the open feed test and the Morris water. Now, the open feed test, we made use of 7 parameters, but I only put one here because of the fact that it is more accurate than others. Yes, this is the major thing about research. It might not be specific in a direction. The result might not be specific. So the most accurate result was gotten from this parameter, which is the number of vocabulary. Now, you can see here that the aluminum chloride group has a lesser number of vocabulary compared to the control group. And that is to tell us that the aluminum chloride group is suffering from depression, because aluminum chloride has the ability to induce depression in experimental animals. So we can deduce that number of vocabulary, the increase in the number of vocabularies is means a decrease in the, I mean, means a decrease in the anxiety level and depression level. And that is what is happening to the aluminum chloride group here compared to the control group. And we can see that the aluminum chloride and the Kolaviron group, it has the highest number of physics, because they are more anxious and they suffered decreased level of depression. The next slide. Thank you. The Morris water maze. Yes, I said the basic concept about this behavioral test is that any animal that fails to locate the escape platform that we have placed at the middle of the circular basin, that means the animal has lost its memory processing ability. And we can see here that the control group actually located the platform within a shorter period of time. That is to tell us that the memory processing ability is still there and the hippocampus function is still working fine. But getting to the aluminum chloride group compared to the control group, you can see that they located the escape platform at a longer time than the control group. That's to tell us that the memory function is being lost gradually. But the aluminum chloride and the Kolaviron group, they also have almost similar period with the aluminum chloride group, but they have lesser than the aluminum chloride group. That's because they are still undergoing recovery stage. So the Kolaviron is still working on the damaging effects of the aluminum that has been administered to the animal. So next slide, please. Yes, the histology result. Now, the hematoxylin and the using was used to view the cytoarchitecture of the groups. And then from the control group, you can see I labeled 3 layers. This is the PO, the PD, and the M. The PO means the polymorphic layer, the PD is the pyramidal cell layer, while the M is the molecular layer. And this M contains, you can see a star-like symbol that I put there. It contains many glial cells. And going furthermore to the aluminum chloride group, yes, the control group has a normal feature. That's how it's supposed to be. While the aluminum chloride group, compared to the control group, they show apoptotic neurons, that is dead neurons, and dilated blood vessels. And their cellular process are actually clumped together. Yeah, we can see that it is lighter in color compared to the control group and the Kolaviron group. While the last group, which is the aluminum chloride and Kolaviron group, you can see that they are showing a sort of self-repairing neurons that are returning back to their normal state. So this shows us that Kolaviron has an ameliorative effect on aluminum chloride. Next slide. The cruciferous violet. That is to show us the inside bodies in the neurons. Now, from the control group, they also have 3 layers. This is the PO, the PD, and the M that I've explained earlier. And you can see here that they have well-stained lacy body in the pyramidal layer, which makes their neuron to be distinguishable. But for the aluminum chloride group, compared to the control group, you can see that they have poorly stained lacy bodies with chromatolysis. Uh, Chromatolysis is a reactive change that occurs in the cell body of damaging neurons. And going to the aluminum chloride and the Kolaviron group, I see that the lacy bodies happens to reappear well stained, and there is a lack of chromatolysis compared to the aluminum chloride group that undergoes chromatolysis. Next slide, please. Now, the next slide, which is talking about the BAS, that is the barium chloride 2X acyl protein. So this BAS, it has positive cells, and these positive cells indicate apoptosis. Now, for the control group, the Kolaviron group and the corn oil group, they shows a sort of low level of BAS positive cell, and this means that they did not undergo apoptosis. But for the aluminum chloride group, it shows increased level of these BAS positive cells, which tell us that they undergo a kind of apoptotic changes. Now, moving to the aluminum chloride plus Kolaviron group, there is a decreased level of the BAS positive cells, which tell us that there's a sort of um, returning back to the normal state, and they did not undergo apoptosis at all. Next slide, please. Yes, GFAP, that is the Gilia fibrillary acidic protein. The function of this marker is to express reactive astrocytes. Now, the reactive astrocyte, as I've said earlier, is a kind of astrocyte that undergoes cellular and morphology changes in response to injury to the nervous system, to the central nervous system. And yeah, we all can see a blue color here. That blue color is neuropile. And for the control group, you can see that we have mid expression of reactive astrocytes with bluely stained neuropile. But when we go to the aluminum chloride group, they have more expression of the reactive astrocytes with lightly stained neuronal nucleus, which indicates astroglossis. Astroglossis is an abnormal increase in the number of astrocytes due to the destruction of nearby neurons from the central nervous system trauma. And getting to the aluminum chloride and the Kolaviron group, there is a reduced expression of the reactive astrocytes, and blue stained neuronal nucleus appears more than the aluminum chloride group. That's to tell us that Kolaviron has an ameliorative effect. Next slide, please. Yes, the last biochemical immunohistochemical marker we use is the TNF alpha, which is the tumor necrosis factor. The tumor necrosis factor positive cells indicates inflammation, and here in the control group, there's a decreased level of that tumor necrosis factor positive cells. Those are the brown stained color we are seeing here. Those are the positive cells. But if they are lighter, that means that there's an increase in the level of that positive cell. And here in the aluminum chloride group, you can see that they are lighter here. That shows us that there's a sort of inflammation to the hippocampal tissue. But getting to the aluminum chloride and the Kolaviron group, I think that there's a sort of self-repairing stage in which the neurons are getting back to the normal state. That's to tell us that Kolaviron has an anti-inflammatory effect on the damaging effect of on the damaging action of aluminum chloride. So the next slide, please. Now, in conclusion, our study confirmed that the Kolaviron has a sort of ameliorative effect on the aluminum chloride due to what we have seen from the immunohistochemical and histological analysis. And You can see that Kolaviron also possesses therapeutic potentials against aluminum chloride induced neurotoxicity in the hippocampus of female wistar. So from the from our results and everything we've carried out, you can see that the group E, which is the aluminum chloride group and the Kolaviron group, they undergo a sort of recovery stage back to the normal state. Thereby, their properties uh, is kind of similar to the control group that has not been given any toxic agent. But comparing it to the aluminum chloride, I see that they suffer a lot of damaging effects due to the administration of aluminum chloride. Next slide, please. In every research, there's a recommendation. Now, after confirming that Kolaviron has a sort of ameliorative effect, which we still want many researchers to take carrying on their research on it, we can recommend that Kolaviron consumption, that is the bitter cola, should be encouraged because it has numerous beneficial effects to human health. And likewise, those people that use cooking utensils that has been used for longer periods should discard them because through it, aluminum chloride can get easily through the central nervous system and then cause neuronal cell loss in any part of the brain. And also, use of topically applied cosmetic anesthetics should also be limited as this has proven to be a source of aluminum entry into the body. And the third recommendation, which I did not put here, is the occupational workers. We have welders, yes, that are always in contact with aluminum during their working hours. So they should be encouraged to use PPE, which has the personal protective equipment, so as to protect themselves from getting in contact with aluminum because aluminum can also get through the body from the skin. So these are all about the presentation and the results we got from our research. The next slide is for the references from where we picked our studies and the results we compare with our own results. Thank you very much, everyone.